Hello, welcome back to another episode of Nobody is Doing It Right, the podcast for those who are uncertain. My name is Kat. I am your self-awareness guide, here to help you become a little less uncertain. I have struggled with uncertainty my whole life. I still do, of course, but I have gotten much better at being more clear with my intentions and showing up authentically. And so that's what all of my content is about, is to help others on this journey who resonate with what I say, how I say it, the way I see the world, the perspective I have. So welcome. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. If you're returning, please consider giving me a rating, sharing this podcast. That'd be really great as well, because I love doing this podcast and it allows me to kind of free flow with my thoughts in a more casual way. And also, if you're new and you're finding me through my podcast, I do TikTok. That's where my biggest following is. But I'm also on Instagram, where I share a lot of information on there as well. And I'm considering getting back on Twitter, maybe sharing a few more snippet-sized bits of information on there. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, welcome. Today's episode is going to be about how the feeling or sign that the feeling of giving up, the feeling that I think I need to do something different. I need to redirect, no, this isn't right, might be a sign that you are exactly on the right path that you need to be on. Now, there's a lot of caveats to this and we'll go into them in this episode, but this is something that I've constantly struggled with and something I still struggle with, but now I'm much more able to recognize it objectively and catch myself in this moment and realize that, oh no, Kat, the moment you think that you have to redirect, find a different thing to do, the thing you're doing right now is not right, it's a sign that you're exactly on the right path, because that is self-sabotage. Your self-sabotage is kicking in because it's sensing, your ego is sensing that you are right at the boundary, at the barrier of your comfort zone. And if you were to step over that barrier, that's exactly where that new version of you is, right? You're stepping into that new version of yourself, the unknown, and your ego is scared of that, right? It doesn't want you to become that person because no, we don't know what's on that other side. We don't know if we're even capable of being that other person. That other person has more responsibilities now. They have to do different things and it's so much more comfier here on this side. So let's stay here because, we want to stay safe. And of course, your ego doing this, it's doing it to protect you. So when we talk about this stuff, when we talk about your ego creating self-sabotaging tendencies, I don't want anyone to feel like I have to hate my ego. I have to hate myself for doing this. Why do I do this to myself? It's doing it out of fear, but to protect you, to keep you safe, because that is what it's designed to do, to keep us safe, right? But it's only when you step into your self-awareness that you are able to take control of it and reassure it that, hey, I know it feels scary and unsafe, but my higher self understands that this is exactly what I need to do. And I am capable of stepping over this barrier and embodying this new version of myself and figuring things out, even though I don't know what's there yet. I trust myself to figure it out. And so the reason I wanted to talk about this is because for me, I struggle with this as well. I'll be on a path of some sort and I know it's what I want to do. And this is one of the caveats, right? It has to be something that is right for you. It's really deeply aligned for you. I'm going to use the example of a content creator. I feel like that's kind of more of a simple one, or an artist in general. But you want to be an artist or a content creator, right? That's totally aligned with you. And it's hard to do that because in this day and age, it's difficult to be an artist. Obviously less difficult than it was back in the day because we have social media, we have the internet, but it's still difficult because there are so many beliefs surrounding that, right? What will people think? What will my family think? How will I make money? Putting yourself out there all the time, gaining an audience, showing up online, that's scary stuff, right? But deep down, you want, deep down that you want to do that, right? So you're on this path, you've decided to start posting online, you've decided to start doing these things, putting your stuff out there, showing your art off or showing your content off. And you're kind of in this state of consistency and you're pushing forward and, things are just happening as they need to. And all of a sudden you feel this pang of maybe this isn't right for me. Maybe there's a little bit of stagnancy there. So maybe you're like, oh, I don't know if this is right for me. I'm not seeing all the results I need to see right away. maybe I don't actually want to be an artist. Maybe it'll be easier for me to go back to this kind of work or whatever. When you notice that, when you feel that, when this happens, it is an indication that you are exactly on the right path that you need to be on. Because that is your ego giving you a sign, an indication that, hey, we're getting a little too close to transcending. We're getting a little too close to becoming a new version of ourselves, and that's scary. And I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to make you self-sabotage. I'm going to make you think that this isn't what you want. I'm going to make you consider going back to an old way of living, or an old kind of job that was maybe more safe, quote unquote, but not fulfilling. It made you hate your life. Maybe that'll be better for us because here we don't know what's happening, And this comes along again with perceived stagnancy. Sometimes when things feel stagnant, when you're on this consistent path, because with anything that you're trying to build or grow, there is a level of stagnancy that's there, but it's not really stagnancy. It's not that nothing's happening. It's everything's happening, but below the surface, right? You're growing roots. That's something I shared on my TikTok and my Instagram, where I said that it might feel like you're stuck, but you're not stuck. You're growing roots. And you need those roots. You need that foundation. And that takes time. It's very slow. It's a slow process. So it might feel like nothing's happening, but everything is happening. The main important stuff is happening during that time. And if you are in this root growing period, you might feel like, see, this isn't right for me because nothing's happening. There's no crazy changes, no hits of dopamine of I've finally made it and these are all my accolades and my success and whatever. That then will, at times, kickstart this self-sabotage because it's like, oh, maybe this isn't right for me. Nothing's happening. I'm not seeing all these crazy things happening, which again is very much an ego-based belief of what success is, right? It is it's almost like, in a sense, it's a childlike belief, which is kind of what's incorporated in that. It's your inner child intermingled there with the ego. That's what a child's belief is of what success actually looks like. From the outside, a kid would be like, yeah, success is it happening all at once and it's exciting and it's quick and there's so many people that love you, all that kind of stuff, fame, fortune. But the real kind of success, real life adult success, if we're looking at it that way, is slow, steady, consistent, and boring sometimes, But with that boredom, quote unquote, there is fulfillment there because you are slowly, gradually building the foundation that will be sustainable long term, right? Because if you were to get all that stuff immediately without the foundation there, without the roots that you're growing, you wouldn't be able to sustain it. And so that is also going to then lead you to falling back to those old habits, falling back to that old version of yourself, right? So as you're in this root growing process and it feels stagnant and slow, that is you creating that foundation that's sustainable. And that is triggering to your ego because it's realizing like, oh shit, we are creating this foundation, which is going to lead us to becoming this new person. It senses that. It senses that you're being consistent with the work you're creating. You're being consistent, I don't know, in the gym, whatever. It's sensing it. And it's like, no, we got to stop this. We have to stop this immediately. And so when that panic kicks in, that self-doubt, that questioning something that you were once so sure of, you're like, yeah, of course this is the path I want to be on. This feels so aligned for me, right? And again, that's a really key component to this. It has to be something that you genuinely feel aligned with, that you feel, intimidated to pursue because of external expectations from people and society, but it's something that just genuinely, fires you up. It's really just genuinely aligned with you and your purpose. And then you feel the self-doubt. That to me is the sign that you are exactly on the right path. And you should take that moment of self-doubt, of feeling like I have to redirect, I have to change, look at it for what it is. See it, okay, I'm feeling like I need to change direction right now. Is this true? Is it true that I need to change direction? Is this true that this isn't right for me? And really dive deep into that, because if you don't, and if you go just by your feelings, because again, feelings, as I mentioned in a TikTok video this week, and I'm sure I'll probably go into this topic a little bit in more detail in another episode, but feelings aren't true, right? Feelings can change despite the external circumstances. You could be around somebody who makes you feel a certain way at one time, and then now all of a sudden you're feeling different around them. Even though that person might be exactly the same as they were before. That's because you're in control of your feelings. Things within you affect the way you feel about things, right? So being clear on when you feel this shift and this change of like, oh, this isn't right for me, whatever, recognizing it for what it is, which is a feeling. It's not truth. It's not an objective truth, right? And so to do that is really important because it will save you a lot of trouble and pain. Because if you do listen to it, if you go, yeah, I feel like I need to do this, so you do it, you're now starting at square one again, right? You're always going to fall back to the same place you were, and you'll find yourself circling back to exactly the same wall that you're hitting. And that's why I often also say that resistance is revealing. It's those moments where you feel that resistance of pushing forward, but then, and then you decide not to do it, but then you circle back around to the same thing. That to me is a sign that that thing is aligned for you, because you wouldn't keep circling back to it if it wasn't. You wouldn't be constantly guided back to it if it wasn't right for you. But then that resistance there, that ego stepping in and creating that self-sabotage, is the sign that you are teetering right on the edge of that change. And that change is scary. So if you are somebody who struggles with this, who finds themselves constantly doing these things that they really want to do, they're on this path of their genuine interest and desire and purpose, and then they'll find themselves halfway through being like, is this really right for me? I don't know. Maybe I need to go back to this. Maybe I need to do this again. Maybe this is better for me. Take that as a sign that you are exactly on the right path, and you are in a way being tricked to go back to an old, more comfortable way of living, right? And that isn't to say that you can't seek out comfort while staying on this path. I'm thinking more in the sense, if you are on a path and you are completely considering abandoning it to go back to some old way, that is a sign that you're right, you're there, you're in it. And all you need to really do is just be persistent and keep going and pushing through it, staying consistent despite how uncomfortable it's going to feel. Because while being on these journeys and doing this work and changing, growing the roots, it's uncomfortable. It's a painful process. It's not called growing pains for nothing. It's going to hurt. It's going to feel so uncomfortable, but it is sitting in that discomfort, provided that you're physically safe and all that stuff. But sitting in that discomfort of growth is so important to getting to where you want to be. And so that's why I always say you kind of have to sit in it. You have to kind of indulge in that pain sometimes. And I don't mean that in a masochistic way. I don't mean that in a way of like letting people cross boundaries or going back to toxic people. No, I just mean for you in your journey and the way you're doing things, breaking old habits. That stuff is what's uncomfortable, right? Breaking those old habits that lead you back to toxic people. It's in the breaking part that's truly uncomfortable, right? That's the harder part, not the part of going back to them and then being hurt by them and all that stuff. The harder part is in that pain where you are setting new roots. You're growing new roots that are bigger, stronger, more supportive for you, right? So yeah, I wanted to share this realization, this perspective for anybody else who's like me, who constantly self-sabotages, right? I don't do it as much now because, again, I've learned so much throughout my journey, and I'm really just self-aware about when it happens. Like I can see it happening now, and I'm able to stop it before it happens. Or even if I'm in it and I'm doing my thing and then I feel that feeling and I consider it, then I'm like, wait a minute, is this my ego or is this actually what's aligned for me right now? But I think it's important to have that awareness, to have that perspective. So I wanted to share that for anybody else who's on a journey right now and they're in it and it's consistent and it's straightforward, but it might feel a bit stagnant and you're considering abandoning it, giving up. I would say to reconsider and really look at what's going on. Ask yourself, is this true or is this just a feeling I'm having? And if it's just a feeling, what is that feeling coming from? Try to get back to the base of what that feeling is coming from, right? Because I think most of the time it'll be coming from your ego who's trying to keep you safe. So, thank it, but allow it to step aside and say, you know what? Thank you, but I can handle this. And I know it's scary, but I trust myself and I want you to trust me as well, that I can handle this despite not knowing what's on the other side of this barrier. I'll figure it out and we'll be okay. That will reassure your ego. It'll allow you to have more space and time to create those roots without the ego kind of always trying to step in and keep you safe and stop you from, doing anything scary or dangerous. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was informative. For anybody who doesn't know, I offer one-to-one sessions. So if this is something you're struggling with and you want to work with me in more detail about your specific issue, feel free to reach out to me and book with me. I'm also planning on having a 3-month intensive program for anyone who really wants to dive deep into this stuff and who wants to be held accountable for 3 months to really like uproot all these self-limiting beliefs, toxic behaviors. Because I think having that kind of accountability can really help. But this is for people who really want to do that kind of work. So if you just feel like you have a specific issue that you want to discuss and get some clarity on and get an objective perspective, you can book a one-to-one with me. And also, anybody who doesn't know, I also am doing webinars now, which has been really fun. It's more of like a teaching moment for me, which I've never really done before, but I'm really enjoying it. So the next webinar is going to be on December 21st. It's going to be about how to tell the difference between your ego and your intuition, which is a question I'm constantly asked about. But there's a lot of information that goes into that because it's not easy. And it's taken me a long time to recognize the difference and really hear my intuition when it's speaking to me. But because I've become so good at listening to it and hearing it, I've been able to make more aligned decisions. And I want to share that with anybody else who struggles with it. So tickets for my webinars are $20 Canadian. And with that ticket, even if you can't make it on the day, I will be recording it and sending it out to everybody who's bought a ticket. So you'll still have access to it. I'm also going to send out some journaling prompts afterwards. And I'm also going to send out my notes that I've taken to do the webinar. So you'll have kind of like an outline to guide you through it while you're watching the video or rewatching it. So yeah, thank you again for listening. And I'll be back again soon with the next one.